Welcome to the Mentor Podcast, where the most highly motivated entrepreneurs come to get their weekly dose of financial stability with host Ron LeGrand, as well as other nationally recognized thought leaders who will teach you how to get, grow, and protect your wealth.
Well, hello, everybody. Ron LeGrand here with another episode of the Mentor Podcast, dedicated to helping you make more money and make it faster and keep more of it and retire wealthy. I have a very special guest today, all in the effort to help you guys get better quality leads. His name is Dan Barrett, and his whole message today is to improve the quality of your leads by using the internet. So I'm going to let Dan tell you all about what he does and how it applies to you, and welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Do you want to dive straight in? We can get into the kind of story of how I started doing this stuff, or wherever you think is best.
Well, we'll start with how you do, or how you started and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, I run a company called AdWords Nerds. We are an agency that's 100% focused on real estate investing. Even within real estate investing, all we do is motivated seller leads. And I usually just say, like, if there's a way we can get motivated seller leads with a computer, we do it, right? So whether that's ads or search engine optimization or something weird, we get into that stuff. So, I got started in the space. Basically, I was actually training to be a high school teacher. I got my master's degrees in history and education. So I was doing that. I was working in public schools. And I just started freelancing on the side to make some extra cash, and very quickly realized I was making more in my first year doing that than I would have made like 5 or 6 years into being a teacher. So I kind of made the jump to full time and started working with real estate investors kind of randomly. Actually, one of my very early clients was this guy, Dan Schwartz, who was an investor down in Baltimore. He now runs InvestorFuse, which is a kind of growing CRM for investors. And he kind of, taught me about the space, and, we got on really well, and, we had a lot of success. So I just started developing a kind of systematic approach to generating seller leads online. There wasn't a ton of people back then really focusing on that. And, it kind of took off from there, and it's been a wild ride. So now we're a team of 10, and we're all over the place. And it is a lot of fun, man. I got to say, it's a very, very exciting field to be a part of. So yeah, I'm just happy to kind of help the community in every way that I can.
All right. Well, let's get into what you do online to generate leads. You said you'll do about anything. So what does that mean?
Yeah. So so when I got started, my primary channel was Google Ads. Used to be called AdWords, and I will still refer to it as that because I just have trouble changing the vocabulary, but now it's officially called Google Ads. And Google Ads have always had this really unique thing about them, where if you if you take a step back and you look at how investors typically market, right? I would say like the classic investor kind of marketing strategy is direct mail. And direct mail has all these advantages, right? Like it's relatively cheap to send a bunch of them out. But primarily, like the advantage to direct mails is in the list building process, where you can go out and you can, scrape this data or, buy a list from somebody and say, well, I've got 1,000 homes in this area. And what I know about them is some kind of, specific criteria, like they've had, they're going into pre-foreclosure, or they have this much equity, or whatever it is, whatever your kind of search criteria is. And you'd go out and mail those people, and, hopefully some of them want to sell, and you mail them a certain amount of times, and then you lock up that deal. And that's been like the model for pretty much forever for most industries, right?
Yeah.
The way that like go ahead. Sorry.
I'm an old direct mail guy, so yeah. But still use them today. Still use them in real estate and in non-real estate. But like you said, they do have advantages as well as disadvantages, which we no need to go down because we're not using them on this call anyway, are we?
Well, yeah. Well, and to be clear, like I think people always assume that I'm somehow anti-direct mail because I'm kind of so online focused, and that's where my skill set is. But I actually think direct mail is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think there's a reason that it's still the most common kind of marketing channel for investors. And if anything, I actually feel a real resurgence of direct mail happening right now, even in the strictly internet marketing space. A lot of people going offline because they feel online is really competitive, right? So there's a huge space for that. But, if you think about the difference between that and using, for example, Google, right? Using Google Ads or search engine optimization, the primary difference is if someone goes on Google, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, Google, whenever someone types in sell my house fast, I want to put my website in front of them, right? That's essentially what Google Ads is, right? In terms of search. So what's unique about that is that I don't know anything about them. I can know where they are because I can tell Google I only want to target people in a certain area. And I know what they typed in, but I don't know if they have equity. I don't even know if they have the house. I don't know I don't know anything about that. Those typical data sets that I would get with direct mail, I don't have. But what I instead have is some idea of their intent, right? I can guess based on the fact that they took the time to go onto Google and type in, I want to sell my house, that they actually want to sell.
Right.
And, I'm sort of giving up the ability in many ways to have that kind of equity data, those other data sets that I might want, but I'm trading it in for this idea of saying, hey, this person has a high level of intent. And so that ends up giving you this really interesting kind of mix. It's this type of lead that can be very high conversion rate. So the rate at which those leads are going to turn into deals is generally going to be higher than direct mail. They're going to be kind of more engaged in a lot of ways, but there are trade-offs. Just like you said, every marketing channel has its disadvantages, right? So, the flip side of that can be cost or technical difficulty. Yeah, for sure.
So let me stop you there. Today, I work a lot in the terms business, which is pretty houses and pretty neighborhoods, not all the junkers, but we also work in the junkers as well for wholesaling and rehabbing. So the good thing is when you get a lead, you don't know whether it's ugly or pretty, but you'll know very quickly into the contact or the conversation. And what I'm telling everybody today is that your whole business, your whole success revolves around your ability to generate quality leads. Quality means less of them, but a whole lot more deals from them. And usually it means more money, not necessarily, but it also, better the quality, the higher the cost normally. So that combined with the ability to handle that call and figure out what questions to ask, which we've got scripted for everybody, those two critical things right there, once you crack that nut, the rest of this thing is really, really easy. So go ahead and tell us exactly what you do and maybe what you can do for us.
Sure. So, if you're talking about what my company does, basically our team, we've got kind of two divisions, right? We've got a done-for-you division, which is basically a kind of completely hands-off agency situation. Investors come to us, we sit down with them, we help them build out a whole custom strategy for their market. And if that's something that they want us to help them with, they bring us on, we do all that stuff for them. We've got a whole team of basically giant nerds that just love to do this stuff all day, every day. And, I would say it's a relatively small percentage of investors that are going to want to do that just because, either they don't want to spend the money on an agency or it's not the right time. We actually turn away a bunch of people. And it's just because for me, ethically, it's a super important thing for us that we only work with people when we're really sure we can make them money. And I'm really sure it's going to work out, right? So it's we generally work with more, established investors in that kind of part of the business. Then we have a coaching part of our business, which is really kind of aimed at more of a beginning investor. We're saying, hey, I firmly believe, I truly deeply believe that having a viable online marketing strategy is a survival necessity for investors over the next 5 years, 5-10 years. I just think if you are not in that channel and not making it work for you, especially as a new investor, you're going to have an incredibly hard time making progress. So the coaching program is really for the people who want to learn to do that stuff, or they want to kind of send someone on their team through that process and kind of bring that in-house. And those are the ways that we help people. And it's been incredibly gratifying. We have a really, really fun business. I'm very lucky to get to work with investors, because investors are absolutely like, they're like very numbers driven. They're like absolutely no, like foo-for-ah or whatever. They are like on it most of the time, and they make really fun clients. So it's been a lot of fun.
All right. Well, let's get back to the method you use to generate leads online.
Sure. Yeah. So I would say there's a couple different primary channels that people are going to look at, right? And what I always tell people is, like, the most common question I will get is someone will come to me and they'll say, hey, like, how much do I need to spend in order to do X type of online marketing in my market, right? So like, I'm in Nashville. How much money am I really going to have to spend? And what I always tell people is, like, there's really no right answer to that, because every market's different, but every investor is different. Everybody's got different risk tolerance levels. Everybody's got different budgets. Everybody's got different goals. So what I'll usually say is, like, your primary kind of goal, especially in the beginning, is to pick from one of these major channels. You've got Google Ads on one side, which tends to be really high conversion rate, but relatively high cost. You've got search engine optimization, which is kind of anything that's pushing your website organically up higher in Google, so that when I Google you, I can find you, and it doesn't cost anything when I click on the website, right? That's a very large channel, incredibly high ROI channel, because of course the leads you're going to get are free, but it's very labor intensive, and it also tends to be a much longer time horizon.
Yeah, right.
Like generally, you're looking like 6 to 12 months or so.
Yeah, you can't just run an ad and get results the next day.
Exactly, right? They want you to pay for that benefit, right? And then you have what I would generally call tertiary channels. So you have Facebook ads, Bing ads, things like YouTube ads, and those are things that are generally the common thread between all those channels is that the leads are going to be significantly cheaper. Especially like something like YouTube ads, there's way less competition. There's a lot of potential leads you can get there, but the leads are much lower quality, right? So I would say probably even lower quality than, say, direct mail, if you're kind of looking at it as a spectrum, right? So it's sort of like, I would say, like Google ads or SEO, it's kind of like you get like the giant Snickers candy bar on Halloween, and then like the Bing ads and sort of Facebook ads are kind of like, they're like penny candies. You're getting like Necco wafers and stuff that's cool. It's better than nothing, but it's maybe not your favorite, right? So there's different reasons you would go into different of those channels. But the thing I primarily ask people is just to really think about whether they have more time than money, or whether it's vice versa, right? If you're like, hey, I know I want to scale my marketing. I know I want to get more leads. I know I want to get more deals. It really just comes down to, you are either going to pay for it in time by doing it yourself, or you're going to pay for it by hiring someone else. It doesn't have to be me. It could be anybody, right? Mm-hmm. And whichever route you go is going to really affect what you end up doing. If you're running something yourself, you're going to have to run a certain kind of strategy, something that's manageable for you time-wise, and something that's manageable for you, sort of technologically, something that makes sense for you in terms of how much money you have to put on the line. And then, of course, if you're paying someone, then you've got to factor that into the amount of money that you have to spend and all that stuff. So for me, usually it's like picking the kind of direction that you're going is probably the primary question. But then once you get into any one of those channels, the thing I almost always tell investors, and very similarly to what you just said earlier, is that quality is not the same as quantity. And investors very much are fixated on quantity, right? Like, investors always want to look at the cost per lead, which is totally understandable. Like, as a metric, I'm a marketer. I do my own marketing. I'm a marketer by trade. Like, of course you want to look at your cost per lead, but in the end, all that really matters is deals. Like, I don't care at all what you pay per lead if you're getting an aggressive and profitable cost per deal acquisition. Right.
Let me stop you there and put a disclaimer in here.
For sure.
So here's the deal, folks. We're sitting here talking about generating leads, but I would state very clearly, a stack of leads sitting on your desk that don't get called is a waste of your money. Generate all the leads you want, quality, non-quality, but if you don't follow up and you know you're not ready to follow up yet, then don't spend the money generating the leads because it'll just lead to frustration. And I can't tell you how many people I see do that. Heck, we drop FSBOs online in their lap every single day, but, that's the lowest common denominator of lead. But that's really not the issue. The issue is, are they following up, and are they following up properly? Man, we drop a script right in their hands, but still, it takes practice to read that thing and do it right. So what you just said, you can get all the leads you want, but again, you only want leads as fast as you can follow up on them, and that should be carefully controlled, or you're just spending money for nothing. Now, good thing about these FSBO leads is they hang around for a long time. In fact, the longer it takes you to follow up, probably the better motivated they are if they haven't already sold the property. But I'd say first things first, make sure you can follow up on them before you go blowing a lot of money on it.
Oh, man.
I tell people all the time,
absolutely huge.
Throwing money at this problem is not going to fix it, okay? If we don't follow up, we're not going to make any money.
No, and I completely agree with you. And actually, it's funny because you've been in the space for a while. You've kind of seen everything. And when I came into real estate investing, I was coming into it from the local business space. So I'd been working with the local bakery and the local, surgeon or whatever. Right. And I knew then that I was these people don't follow up on the leads that I generate for them. And so they would complain all the time about how they weren't making their money, but they weren't doing even the bare minimum, right? No. When I first started working with investors, I was completely blown away by how aggressive my first couple clients were with following up with the leads. And that really set the tone for me. And as we grew, we went from 5 clients to 50 clients or whatever it was. I was starting to run into similar issues, and it took me forever to realize that they weren't following up. And I was completely, I had thought that was not going to be a problem, kind of based on my first initial experiences. But now it's been such an issue that we've actually built it into what we do. So now we provide free follow-up coaching, and we provide free, consulting on their CRM systems and their automated follow-up systems and their email systems because there was such a need for it. And I completely agree. You can throw as much money as you want at the top of the funnel, but if the money, the money or the water or the leads or whatever you want to say can't get out the bottom, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you put in the top, right? So you're 100% right.
All right. So let's go back to your media that you use, your methods that you use to generate them. And I think we've made the case here that probably need to focus a whole lot less on what the lead costs, but more on what you're going to get from it. Now, that's easy for us to say, but that's, you're coming into this business, you've shown a shoestring budget. Obviously, people are going to go for the cheap things first because that's just the way we're raised. Me, I'd rather spend $100 on a lead and only need to contact 5 of them to get a deal than spend $5 on a lead and have to contact 100 of them to get a deal. But that's okay. People coming from a job market, that's a little mindset that we got to get them to switch over to. But I tell you right now, that's not going to be an easy thing to do if you're broke. So tell me, what is the best thing you can do? What gets you the best quality customers of all the things you do? Customers meaning sellers.
Yeah, I think of everything that we do, the leader is still Google Ads. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think that that's necessarily some kind of inherent characteristic of that channel. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that that's what we are best at. But at least in our experience, those leads still close very aggressively. They still close at a kind of national rate of, 1 out of 12 to 1 out of 15 for our clients, which compared to online leads is very good, right? And I don't
depends on who's making the call.
Well, exactly, and that's kind of the mystery factor. And one of the reasons that we really vet people that we work with is because if you've never closed a deal before, it actually makes it harder. I think if you know, like, I paid a bunch of money for this lead, I got to close them now or I'm going broke.
Right.
I mean, that's a tough situation for anyone to be in, right?
Yeah.
But the good news is that, like, you know, in the environment we're in right now, you can automate a lot of your follow-up. You can build systems and use software that allow you to talk to more sellers and to have more consistent conversations with sellers. I think it's actually easier than it's ever been in order to build out those systems and put yourself in a place where you're giving yourself the best chance of success, right? So, I mean, I think if someone's listening to this and they're new, you know, what I would always say is, like, if you drop me off in the middle of nowhere and said I had to do real estate deals in order to survive, what I would probably do is I would put a little bit of money into Google Ads in order to get something going. And then I would spend all my time on my website making it good so that it shows up in Google, right? Organically, right? So I'm kind of doing the paid piece in order to prime the pump. And then I'm building that long-term system that's also going to give me free leads and build my ROI.
What do you suggest for the freshman folks to spend per day on ads?
Yeah, I think, you know, you can really spend any amount as long as you adjust your expectations. But I would say, like, here, like, let's say you want to spend $10 a day or $20 a day, right? Mm-hmm. That's a very doable budget in Google Ads. If your goal is to say, I'm going to do a deal every couple of months, right? So you're not trying to, like, blow try to blow the doors off the building, but you're like, hey, I'm going to start getting data. I'm going to start seeing what's going on in my market. I'm going to really pick and choose my battles. This is the other thing I always tell people. There are a lot of disruptive forces in our industry right now. If you look at, you know, companies like Zillow and Trulia, they're really moving into the whole kind of real estate investing space, and they're spending a lot of money. And I always say, like, if you want to play the money game with those companies, you can, but you're never going to win, right? Because they just essentially have unlimited cash.
Yeah.
And so, you know, but the good news is that as a, you know, quote unquote, real person, as a local investor who actually knows your market, you actually have significant advantages over companies like that, because those companies, what they do is they literally, like, just blow money out of a cannon, and they try to like carpet the entire United States. Mm-hmm. As a local person, you can be choosy about your zip codes. You can be choosy about the keywords that you choose to get into. You can be choosy about what competitors you go head to head with, and you can actually go really far without a ton of money. The question is just, are you willing to put in the time and effort to do that? I think a lot of investors are very used to kind of the way things have been. Like, the past decade, this industry has really been like, I got started, I put $1,000 in the mail, and boom, I got 3 deals. And I just kind of fundamentally think the competitive landscape is very different. And I think a lot of people get discouraged very easily, right?
Oh,
because they kind of look at people. Yeah. But I mean, they kind of expect it to be, I don't want to say they expect it to be easy, but maybe they've kind of been given this picture of, like, what's going to happen. And then they don't get that, and they get discouraged. So what I always tell people is, like, if you view everything as an experiment, where you're like, pick a budget, an amount of money that you can afford to lose. That could be $30 for you, or it could be $500. But what can you afford to lose? And go into it with the idea that, like, what you are going to do is learn about your market, learn what works, test different messaging, test different approaches on your website, just see who's out there, so that no matter what happens, you end up smarter and more accomplished than when you started. And then at that point, every deal you do from that process is a bonus. And that process itself will lead to a significant payoff eventually, right?
So maybe we get set up and we spend $25 a day for 7 days.
Sure.
And we see what happens, because we can shut this thing down anytime we want. So the truth is, if I can't invest $175 into my business, then I got no choice but to go do everything that I don't have to spend money on. And of course, there's millions of sites I can run ads on for free. But again, we're back to quality leads and quality targeting. I mean, our Gold Club alone will drop, 15, 20 FSBOs in their lap every week. And I see, we make quite a few deals out of that. in classes everywhere we go, we actually call sellers and make deals while they watch on those leads. But I can't emphasize enough how your success will hinge on your ability to generate targeted leads, both online and offline, actually. And if you change your target, you're going to change your whole business. A marginal shift like that is all it takes most of the time. Just like today, I mean, 3 years ago, I used to sit on my butt and buy all the junkers right off my iPad that I wanted. Today, it's a waste of my time because they're greater fools are grossly overpaying for out there all over the country. I've changed gears, and now today we're going to go into the world of FSBOs more than we ever did if we want to buy those junkers. So it's just changing and constantly learning and implementing and testing and figure out what works and ramp it up when you find out that it works and quit belly aching because nobody cares anyway, right, Dan?
Yeah. Well, and I always say, I definitely feel everybody's pain. It's so funny, man. Everything changes so fast today. So literally, I was setting up, I spent all day Monday. So I spent all day Monday building out this whole multi-step, it was like a 10-day follow-up sequence using this cool new Facebook bot technology that I got. And I was like, this is amazing. And then literally this morning I woke up and somebody sent me an email that said Facebook basically is not going to allow this thing you were doing anymore. It's no longer allowed. So I was this wasted the whole day. It'll keep you young because you've got to constantly learn just to stay on top of it, or just, I put tons of free stuff out every single day. My whole thing here and the way that I'm trying to make a difference in this industry that we're in is just that I want to be the person that educates everybody, and you don't have to work with me. Literally, the amount of people I can work with is very limited. But I want to make sure that I can at least make everybody that I can business a little bit better. And if that's, hey, I can give you a little bit of information, a little bit of guidance, I will happily do that for free because I think all that stuff comes back.
Speaking of free stuff, you got some free stuff. What are you going to give our listeners?
Yeah, so we have, it's a really convenient little guide. So we call it the REI Lead Gen Blueprint. It's basically our entire strategy kind of written down in a really easy to read format. And I think we're going to have that at thementorpodcast.com/Dan. So my name, DAN, thementorpodcast.com/Dan. I'll have that up. And you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm also going to link everybody just to kind of a little choose your own adventure, some trainings and stuff. If you want to dig more into this world, I'll make it so that you can do that for free. But, the blueprint's a really great place to start because it'll hopefully just kind of cut down the noise and make it so that you can make a couple easy decisions and get out there and get something. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be this huge thing. You don't have to spend a ton of money on it. You don't have to hire me. Just do something, anything. And I'm telling you, the cumulative impact on your business over the next 2, 3, 5 years of that kind of stuff is massive. And that's the kind of change I want to try to bring about.
2, 3, 5 years is a lifetime in my business. I've seen people make that quantum giant leap in less than a year. Start wherever you can start. I want to tell you right now, when I started, I didn't have any money. It didn't stop me. But, you're going to have to decide how bad you want it, number one. All right. Again, thementorpodcast.com/Dan. Get that free report. And I am sure that if they order that, you will tell them what you can do for them and make them aware of all the services and or products that they can get from you and at whatever level they want to get at. Correct?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, okay. I'll reach out in a very tasteful way. So I promise I will not put you on my 10-day Facebook spammy bot thing or whatever. I will. I'll get in touch with them for sure.
Well, I don't know why anybody'd want to report if they don't know what the next step is anyway.
That's true. Yeah, for sure.
And if you want to learn more about this business, you might be listening to this and don't know who I am, Ron LeGrand. I'm the guy that makes all of this possible for folks coming into this industry, teaching them where the money is and how to get at it the easiest way possible without your credit for sure, and little or no money. And I'm all over the internet. RonLeGrand.com is our main website. If you want to get my free book, it's ronsfreebook.com, all about the whole business of real estate. And go check me out, get involved, and there's plenty of free stuff on there for you as well. And Dan Barrett, thank you for being on the call today. And you are just another way to help our clients actually get better and make more and work less by getting quality leads, and we appreciate your contribution.
Yeah, it was absolutely my pleasure, Ron. You were actually one of the very first real estate authors I ever read, so it's an honor for me to be on. I really appreciate it.
Does that just mean I'm old or what?
Well, I read relatively recently that I got into this space, so you could still be very young and qualified.
Well, I've only been at it 37 years. I got another 20 or so to go.
All right, awesome, man. Yeah, thank you so much,
Dan.
Ron. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. See you next time.
That's all for this edition of the Mentor Podcast. To connect with Ron and learn how you can attain financial freedom, as well as up-to-date strategies to grow and protect your wealth based on today's discussion, go to www.connectwiththementor.com.